Welcome on the sub-module 1, Stakeholders, Collaboration and Continuous Improvement. In this section, we will discuss the strategic role of multi-stakeholder collaboration and learn about the stages of the agri-food supply chain. We will identify the steps and critical issues of the chain and learn to recognize the stakeholders in the agri-food supply chain. We will also develop facilitation and negotiation skills useful for participatory governance activities and define participatory governance models for innovation and sustainability projects using continuous improvement tools. Let's review the main points of the submodule. Multi-stakeholder collaboration. Understanding the production process and its stages, identifying the steps and critical issues in the supply chain in terms of food waste and loss. Mapping stakeholders in the agri-food supply chain as a producers, processor, logistics, large-scale distribution, consumers, institutions, and NGOs. Co-innovation processes as a living labs, working groups, public-private partnerships. Continuous improvement management, Kaizen approach, lean thinking, and application to supply chain processes. At the end, developing facilitation and negotiation skills functional to participatory governance activities. The first topic is multi-stakeholder collaboration. Multi-stakeholder collaboration is a strategic approach used to shift the logic from isolated individual solution to a systemic approach. To address environmental and inefficiency issues, is it necessary to link supply chain, infrastructure, regulation, and demand? The integration of skills and resources is imperative for achieving an overview that reduces transition costs and accelerates the adoption of sustainable solutions. The distribution of data and metrics among the relevant parties, for example, actual energy consumption, waste indicators, logistic performance, facilitate the identification of bottlenecks and latent wastage through the entire life cycle, a reduction that individual actors rarely achieve autonomously. Collaboration facilitates economies of scale and scope. Investment in shared infrastructure as a reuse centers, treatment plants, digital platform, lower unit cost, and improve operational efficiency, making technology which would otherwise remain uncompetitive, economically sustainable. From an innovative perspective, dialogue between different stakeholders generate hybrid solutions, technology and services and policy that improve resource circularity and supply chain resilience. Businesses experiment with new business models, product as a service sharing, while administration and community create rules and incentives to adapt and model positive practices. Multi-stakeholder governance strengthens the legitimacy of choices. Shared policies and investment encounter less social resistance and operate with greater regulatory consistency, reducing the risk of lock-in to unsustainable technology. In the modern agri-food sector, multi-stakeholder collaboration is a key strategic lever for combining sustainability, efficiency, and competitiveness. The agri-food supply chain is, by its very nature, complex and interdependent. It involves agricultural producers, processors, distributors, institutions, consumers, and researchers. Coordinated action is a key to overcoming the fragmentation of information and organization that often generates inefficiency and waste through the food product life cycle. First and foremost, the sharing of data on production, demand, deadlines, logistical availability between public and private actors make it possible to optimize crop planning, stock management, and distribution, reducing food waste and economic losses. Multi-stakeholder collaboration also helps to implement systemic innovation, such as a digital platform for traceability and certification or integrated system for the reuse of wastewater and agricultural byproducts. This solution requires significant investment, which cannot always be sustained by individual companies, and shared governance to ensure the scalability and ensure stable operation in the long term. From an environment sustainability perspective, cooperation between farmers, consortia, and research centers promote the spread of regenerative and precision farming practices, which reduce chemical inputs, water consumption, and emissions. At the same time, the involvement of public institutions and logistic companies make it possible to design more efficient infrastructure and promote economies of scale in the use of renewable energy and low-emission means of transport. From an economic and social perspective, multi-stakeholders collaboration strengthens the resilience of rural areas. It allows for a more equitable distribution of added value, stimulates the creation of skilled jobs, and improves consumer confidence through shared transparency and certification mechanisms. Finally, the multi-stakeholder approach increases access to public and private funding for sustainable projects by public-private partnerships, PPS, or network contracts, reduce risk and improve governance, which are crucial elements in attracting investors and European funds. Let's take a look at the following example of multi-stakeholder collaboration in the Italian agri-food supply chain. This is an example of a digital platform for managing food surplus. Are collaborative systems that connect producers, large-scale retailers, cafeterias, and non-profit organizations to redistribute surplus food in real time. In this example is Too Good To Go or Regusto in Italy. Sustainable agri-food districts are territorial areas where farmers, processors, local authorities, and research centers collaborate to promote the circular economy and short supply chain. In this example, we see the Chianti Classico food district in Tuscany. There is below the link of website. Benefit is a reduction in emissions and promotion of local products with shared sustainability label. For example, another example, territorial agreements for sustainable fresh produce logistics are agreements between producer, cooperative, and transporters to share refrigerate vehicles and warehouse optimizing load. For example, in Italy, Fresh Demo project in Emilia-Romagna. The benefits are 20% reduction in transport-related emissions and improved profitability for small producers. Now, let's examine the agri-food supply chain. Knowing how to identify the constituent elements of the extended agri-food chain and the most critical points for food waste is essential for effectively setting up a multi-stakeholder project. The main stages of the chain are production, processing, distribution, and consumption. Each of these stages also constitutes a critical point for waste. It is therefore very important to be able to identify where critical issues, waste and loss, arise. The industrial processing stage in the extended supply chain from seed to table is particularly important because it's one of the main points where food waste and loss are concentrated. Degraded food losses occur during the processing stage, with waste mainly occurring during the evaluation of the marketing standards of final products, as a process waste, non-compliant quality, and reduced shelf life. For this reason, technological innovation can be a powerful strategic tool for improving not only the efficiency of the agri-food production process, but also for reducing waste of resources through the supply chain and even at the end, when the product reaches the consumer. Now, let's take a closer look at the various types of food waste that occur at each stage of the supply chain. Production in the field and immediately after harvesting. At this stage, waste consists of losses due to climate damage, plant disease, suboptimal harvesting, and stringent commercial standards. It also includes losses due to incomplete post-harvest management, such as pre-curing and sorting. The second step is processing, food industry. In this phase, we identify technological waste, trimming and peelings, machinery stoppages and restarts, format changes, formulation or weighting errors, quality non-compliance, packaging failures, hygiene and safety issues, thermal abuse, interruption to the cold chain and mismatches between supply and demand. In the EU, processing accounts for around 19% of total waste, just over 11 million tons based on a 2020 baseline. Third, distribution, wholesale and retail. At this stage, spoilage occurs due to poor stock and temperature management, misinterpreted of best before dates, damaged packaging and assortment and promotion that generate unsold goods. Globally, the food waste index shows that most waste occur at the retail and consumption levels. At the end, consumption, HoReCa, and domestic. In this phase, the problems are oversized portions, poor purchasing and planning, confusion over used by and best before dates, and inadequate storage. In 2022, household waste accounted for approximately 60% of global waste. In the EU, households accounted for 53%, approximated 69 kilos per capita in 2020. Let's proceed with a closer look at the stakeholders in agri-food supply chain. Stakeholder mapping is the first step in understanding the dynamics of influence and collaboration along the agri-food value chain. It allows us to identify all the players: agricultural producers, processors, distributors, retailers, consumers, public bodies, NGO, and tech startups, and analyze their interests, objectives, and potential conflicts. This process makes it possible to identify points of synergy and areas where joint efforts can have the greatest impact. A thorough analysis of stakeholders also makes it possible to plan targeted communication strategies and create effective platform for dialogue. In the farm-to-fork perspective, transparency and participation become central elements in ensuring trust and sustainability in decision-making processes. Having in-depth knowledge of who and how many actors are involved in each case allow for the best possible collaboration strategy to be set up with a view to achieving objectives. The first phase of analysis and mapping is therefore to identify the categories of operators present along the agri-food supply chain. Each node has specific characteristics, defined skills, and a key role in certain types of anti-waste actions. There are then primary macro-categories of stakeholders in the extended agri-food supply chain. First, input suppliers, seeds, fertilizers, plant protection products, animal feeds; agriculture producers, farmers, livestock breeders; food industries and producers, packaging, materials and design; logistics and transport operator; large-scale retailers; restaurateur, HoReCa, public authorities and regulator, ministries, local health authorities, supervisory bodies, etc. Non-governmental organizations and advocacy groups, for example, social, environmental, etc. Consumer association. This example represents the most common and recognizable types and categories, but they should not be considered a complete and definitive list. The continuous evolution of product and distribution systems, changes in production methods, economic scenarios, and consumption patterns constantly reshuffle the market. To enhance clarity, two tables are presented below. The first, this one, is an operational checklist, can be useful in the analysis and mapping phase of a multi-stakeholder project. For each type, there is what is contains. For example, type is a farmer or a producer or a retailer. Which area is is expertise. What is a specific area of activity? The second section provides a synopsis of the fundamental characteristic of stakeholder responsibility, presented in form of a matrix. Co-innovation processes is based on the idea that the most effective solution emerge from collaboration between diverse actors. There are various ways of implementing this, choosing more or less standardized tools and methods such as a living labs, working group, and public-private partnership, depending on the actors involved and the project objectives. Living labs are experimental environments in which businesses, researchers, institutions, and citizens co-create, test, and validate innovation in real-world context. Multi-stakeholder working groups and public-private partnership encourage dialogue and the sharing of resources and expertise. In this context, the aim is to overcome competitive thinking and promote a network culture geared towards continuous improvement and sustainable innovation. Co-innovation methodologies are particularly useful in the development of solutions to food waste, where the interdependencies between stakeholders are numerous and complex. Now, let's talk about the continuous improvement management. When managing complex projects for food waste reduction and sustainability, it is necessary to adopt a logic of continuous improvement. The complexity of the structure of the project themselves, the presence of different operators with different interests and functions, and other elements make it useful to adopt an approach to constant validation and continuous re-evaluation of efficiency and effectiveness. Depending on the case, different tools can be used, separately or together, to achieve the project objectives. The Kaizen change for the better approach and lean thinking, for example, offer concrete tools for examining waste and optimizing processes. Applied to the agri-food supply chain, this principle helps to identify inefficiencies in the production, processing, and distribution stages, promoting a culture of continuous improvement. Lean methodologies, on the other hand, encourage the direct involvement of workers and the use of data to make evidence-based decisions. The goal is to create value with the least possible expenditure of resources, reducing waste and improving the quality of the final product. The integration of these tools in agri-food businesses also contributes to greater resilience and adaptability to market changes. In the order to set up and govern a participatory collaboration plan, it is necessary to know how to negotiate and lead all parties involved towards a common goal. Good cooperation requires specific communication and negotiation skills. In a stakeholder context, priority and objectives may differ, causing tension or misunderstanding. It is necessary to establish effective listening skills, empathize with others and express oneself clearly when necessary, and mediate to reach constructive compromises. Nonviolent communication tools, as well as conflict management frameworks, can preserve collaborative and harmonious relationships. Transparent, result-based communication also build shared trust and speed up decision-making. Let's examine some topics in greater detail. Collaborative leadership and shared goal orientation. Leadership in participatory context is not directive but facilitative. The leader acts as a guide in coordinating different interests toward a shared vision. It is essential to build consensus without imposing predefined solution. A good leader creates a condition for everyone to contribute effectively. Communication and negotiation skill in complex environments. Cooperation requires advanced interpersonal communication skill. Negotiation is not only about reaching agreements, it is also about building sustainable relationships. Asking effective questions improves mutual understanding. Structured communication reduces ambiguity and latent conflicts. Stakeholder diversity management. Stakeholders have different interests, values, and expectations. Misalignment of objectives can generate operational and relational tensions. Openly acknowledging divergences is the first step in addressing them. When managed strategically, differences become resources. Mediation and compromise building. Mediation involves finding solutions that satisfy all parties involved. Effective compromise strengthens collaboration rather than weakening it. The mediator acts as a neutral facilitator of dialogue. The goal is to transform conflict into opportunity. Active listening, empathy, and effective expression. Listening is an intentional and conscious act, not a passive one. Empathy helps one to understand others' real motivation. Clearly expressing oneself prevents misunderstanding and ambiguity. Authentic communication strengthens professional relationships. Transparent and result-oriented communication. Transparency is essential building mutual trust. Sharing results increases accountability. Providing clear information speeds up the decision-making process. Trust multiplies organizational effectiveness. Thank you.